Hey there, it's Marty from the Menowave Lounge. Today, let's talk about navigating life's big stressors, whatever they may be. Join me and my dear friend and co-host Robin as we share our recent midlife moving experiences and how we managed to get through them. We both realized it's a lot different now than when we were younger. But this episode isn't just about moving, it's about facing any major life change and finding our way through. From prioritizing self-care to seeking support, we're sharing what helped us weather the storm. So grab a cup of tea, cozy up, and let's have a heart-to-heart about thriving through life's twists and turns in this week's episode of the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations.
Welcome to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. I'm Robin Duke, and I'm joined by Marty Daly.
Hey, everyone. Nice to be here.
Marty. Today, we are going to talk about transitions, big transitions that happen in our life. Both Marty and I, we moved in the same week, okay? I moved the same week she moved. And we are here to talk about how to take care of yourselves and the things that we did and how we managed through it, because it's quite an experience. And what a coincidence for both of us to be moving on the exact same week and all the things that led up to it. And then, here we are on the other side of it. And we're just going to talk a little bit about the things that we did before, during, and after to take care of ourselves. Because moving is very, not only physical, but emotional. And it's just drains your energy because there's so much in your head and on your plate and things that you're doing and stuff like that. So, Marty, tell us a little bit about how your move went.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Robin said, moving is one of the biggest life transitions that we have, and for a variety of reasons. And I think a lot of people don't really necessarily recognize a lot of the emotional impact from it, which I'll go into. But just for me personally, my family, we had to do a big move a year ago because the owners of the house that we were renting decided to sell. And we had been there for 9 years. And it shouldn't have been a complete shock. Like every time we get extended, we get renewed. And last year it came up, we didn't. And so looking back on it, it was a really tough time because we had to go and find a new place to live and all that goes along with that. It's not like we were moving too far. We did move to a different town, but it was still within 20 minutes of where my kids were going to school. But looking back at it, there were a lot of emotional things that I guess I didn't appreciate as enough at the time. And so to finish that story before I circle back around, so we moved into a different house and it was fine. It was lovely. I will always say it was a beautiful house and it was there when we needed it. And, a lot of good things about it, but it also wasn't the right fit for us. And so once again, when we came around to our lease being up, we were not sad when the owner said, I also wish to sell. So we were on the move again. So I did 2 moves in less than a year with my family. And, so many emotions come up. I mean, we love the house that we ended up in. We were very fortunate. There's a lot of reasons. We're extremely happy where we are. My kids are within 5 minutes of their school, and I'm closer to my friends that I was sad that I had to leave last year. But looking back at it now, it's been really hard on me. And as it is on you too, like Robin and I have been talking about it, just like the coincidence, she was moving, I'm moving. We're both trying to manage our families and our work, our day jobs, and bring this podcast to you. And just all of these different things going on, which is stressful enough, and it is. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, basically, it's like your life stops, your world stops. Did you find that, Robin? Like all of a sudden it's like,
Yes.
Yeah, you had all these things, but boom, it's like a stop. Everything had to stop.
Yes, because you can only crowd so many things into your life at one time. And so something's got to give.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized that I had made the decision to move, and I had been in my little townhouse for 10 years, and there were many circumstances that brought me to the decision to move, and I won't go into all of them. But when I finally did, I realized, wow, I had only given myself probably about maybe 5 weeks to move. But I will say that I started feeling the urge to do this move back in like October and November. And it was a very strong feeling in me. So I knew that something was going to be shifting for me. I didn't know what, I didn't at that time, but I started cleaning. I started going through my clutter corners. I started going through my closet, my clothes, my closets, everything. And I had a 2-car garage filled with my life stuff and going through that. So when the time came, I kind of wasn't surprised, but I knew it was going to be a little bit of work. And so for me, once I came to the realization that I was actually really going to move, and it took me about 3 days of procrastination and self-denial. And so I had to do some self-talk, and I said, okay, you've had your pity party, you've looked over all the reasons why to stay, to go, now it's time, right? And so I remember distinctly, I pulled out that first box, I put it together, and I started putting things in it, and all of a sudden everything just shifted. And from that point, things got lighter for me. And it was just like, okay, it was like almost a burden was lifted, because I knew now I'm engaged. Once you put your foot on the path and you're moving in it, you're in it, right? So even though it looked like chaos around me, it still felt like I knew I was doing the right thing. So did it feel different for you when you finally said, yes, we're doing this? When you started moving in that direction, that forward direction?
Yeah, we really didn't have a choice. We had thought we were going to renew and it was fine. But then all of a sudden, it was the day before my birthday when Matt gets the email, my husband, and says, oh, we have to move. And I was relieved. I mean, we liked the house and the neighborhood was fine, but we just knew that it wasn't where we really wanted to spend a long-term time. But it's kind of like, okay, this is what we're having to do. What's the next thing? Last year, we ran into a challenge of finding a place. We thought it would be pretty easy to find a place. And there was a lot of competition for all of the good houses, all the pretty ones that we wanted, and all the ones that would fit all of our list. They were just getting snapped up. And we were down to the wire last year. Probably we were down to like the last week before we had to be out of our old house before we found the one that we moved into. So there was that stress. And what I want to say about that is something that I learned is basically be okay with your worst case scenario. And I know a lot of times people say like, no, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. I don't want to be living in a box under the bridge. Not that that would have been, but there was a point where I was thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know where we're going to live. Like our worst case scenario houses were like really bad. I mean, we're talking holes in the walls and busted appliances and just horrible. And then I thought, okay, well, versus that, what if the kids could move in back in with their dad temporarily, and my husband and I would just put all of our stuff into storage, and hey, how about we get an Airbnb or VRBO and just travel around and visit relatives across the country and just float for a couple of months. We both work from home until circumstances change. And because I was sitting in the car crying, we had looked at this house and I just started crying because like I am so stressed. And so my husband and I came up with that idea and we're talking as we're talking about it more. And we're like, yeah, this is like fun. Yeah, we could do that. It's like totally off the wall. It's totally outside of the box. And I'll tell you what, Robin, I know I've told you this, but what happened then is we get the call that, oh yeah, the house. And so I was like, okay, I had gotten myself to a place of acceptance of what was my true worst case. I mean, not the mangy, scary house, but the traveling around. And then that or better, the house came available. So this time around, we had that knowledge of like, okay, well, the good houses we want, there's a lot of competition for them. So to prepare ourselves, but keep an open mind. And I made a list of everything that I wanted in our next house. It was before we even started looking, and I set it aside. And we ended up signing a lease for a house that hit most of it. There were probably like 2 or 3 that it didn't. And yet I was like, okay, well, I'm happy with that. If that's our worst case scenario, it's a great house. It's much better location. It works for us. We can make it work. And I'd wrapped my heart around that, my mind around that. And then out of nowhere came the opportunity to move into the house that we're currently in, which hit everything on my list. And we were super ecstatic. So that's the way I carried myself through this. That's kind of the mindset that I adopted was, okay, I know what I want and just trust that it will come. But the key of that is that would not have happened if I had been so clamped down, afraid of every little thing. Like, oh my gosh, oh, this house we wanted, oh, somebody else got it, or oh, we're not going to get a good house. And it's like even feeling it, even as I'm talking about now, if you can feel like a contraction and a restriction of like, oh, that
That
panic
stress
and
in
the
your chest.
yes, in the stomach
Yeah.
and in the chest, and that is not the optimal way to go through something like this.
Mm,
Because as you know, Robin, things work better when we come at it from a place of calm, or even a place of neutrality, or even a place of positive. And you don't have to like put on a happy face going, oh, joy, joy, joy. I love looking for homes. No, I don't. But that place of neutrality of like, okay, I feel good about this place or better.
right.
And for me, what really helped was taking myself back to what I consider a place of like emotional neutrality. If I couldn't get to like genuine feeling good or feeling positive, it was a feeling of, okay, get myself to neutral, where I was like, oh, bring it on. Does that make sense?
Well, I can understand that because for one of the things that I did once I finally came to the realization, okay, this is the way it's going to be. I am moving. This is the reality of it. Now, fortunately, I knew where I was moving to, so I didn't have that burden there, that wondering where, but just the sheer amount of stuff that I had to go through in order to like a 2-car garage, I had to unpack and look at that going, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Right. I don't know about you in bedrooms and clothing and all that kind of stuff, but that is overwhelming, just to stand inside my closet and go, what am I really going to take? There's just so much of 10 years of stuff. And I'm a nester. I like my nest. And so for me to get out was really stepping outside of my comfort zone.
I'm a
And
nester too. Yeah.
oh yeah. And I'll tell you what, there were a couple things that really helped me move through this time. And that was number one, having a positive mindset. It's like, okay, I know I'm not going to get everything done all in one day. I'm just going to take it in small bites, 2 hours here, 2 hours here. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to make sure I rest. I'm going to make sure that I eat. And I'm going to take my breaks throughout. And then the second thing is I put really strong people around me too. I had like 3 really good, strong, organized girlfriends that came over. They weren't involved in the emotional part of moving because there's always that really big emotional component. They were just there to say, okay, I've got a box. What do you want me to do? And I'd be, okay, go over to that closet over there. I've already cleaned it through once and everything needs to be packed. Or I would set things aside and say, pack this table up with everything on it. So I broke it down into smaller tasks. And I had girlfriends that were really supportive of me. And so they came in and they were kind of like the solid rock part. I could give them a box and I could say, here, pack this. And they were very logical and very supportive and they would listen to me. Where if I stopped to get inside my head, I would have been that emotional mess, right? And there were a couple times when I just totally like kind of broke down and just the reality of everything just kind of hit me. And I think when I started taking my pictures off the wall, that was when, that's when for me it was like, oh my God, I'm moving. I mean, everything I own is going into a box. How is this going to fit? 100 different things that were going on. And so I gave myself permission to like have those moments and then go, okay, everything is on track. Everything is moving. You've got good support. What is it that you really need right now? Do you need to stop and take a break? Do you need to eat something? Do you need to, go take a walk outside and get some fresh air? So I just really tuned in and listened to my heart center when I was going through all of this because it was quite overwhelming to have 10 years of my life, be put into a box.
And yes. And, for you, it's a happy move. And as you were talking about that, I was remembering moves that I had done in the past that were unhappy. But namely, the one that stands out the most is when I divorced my children's dad. And I was moving out of the home that we had bought together when we first got married. And I was there for, I think, 9 years as well. And the emotion, I mean, it's not only packing away our life and my kids' lives. I mean, I had decorated the nurseries. My children were small when we left. I had loved that house. It was my first house that I had bought. And it was just a very, very painful, very, very painful thing. But like I said, taking things down. And I even remember because I had to take a video of the condition that I left the house. And it was the most beautiful, cleanest it had ever been. My mom had come to help me. And my voice was even so sad. It's like an emotional connection to a house. What is a house? What is our home? But it was my home. And I don't know about if this is how you get, but the previous places, I do get emotionally attached to where I'm living. I have loved or found something to love about every place that I have lived, even if it was just a 1 year rental in an apartment when I was 19, or a home that I loved that I had bought and I owned for 10 years. I remember my very first time I realized how connected I was to my home was when my family moved out of a house that we sold when I was 12. And I remember standing outside as we're loading up, we're leaving for the last time. And I go to the side of the house and I hug the corner. Like I wrap my arms around the corner and just I say goodbye. And I'm like getting emotional. It's about a darn house, right? And so, but I've always done that every time I've left a place. But it's just kind of been ingrained with me to thank it and to say goodbye. Even the house we just left that, it was fine. I still thanked it. I was like, you know what? You came through for us when we needed you and you're a great place. And thank you. And I feel like it helped me so much, processing all the emotions of, what this house was to us and letting it go.
Yeah, I completely agree. I did the exact same thing. So, as I was going through the house and as I was emptying each room, I just chose to remember all the good, positive memories and to thank you for let me being here, let me live here, giving me a good life. And inside, I'm just saying, oh, great. Thank you for closing this chapter of my life. And now I'm ready to move into another chapter. And
Yes.
so I just tried to really be grateful in the moment, and it was just such an awe moments that when the house was completely empty, and I could just feel like the clean vibrations in the house, the emotion of moving my things around.
Yeah.
It was a deep breath, and I just let it go, and it just really felt like finally I can release this.
Yes.
I don't have any more energy. I've used it all up. I cleaned out the space. It feels really good. It feels like, okay, the chapter is finally closed. And now I can put my energy forward into a new place and in a new chapter in my life. And I look at things like this as chapters in my life. And it's not necessarily, good or bad. I mean, sometimes chapters can end happy, sad, neutral. I chose to close it in a positive way because that was taking care of me emotionally and spiritually and in my heart center, right? Mm-hmm. And the last thing I want to say about that is we don't realize how much emotion goes into or how connected we are to our things. They always say you can't take it with you. A lot of these things have been with me for many years. And I think some of the hardest parts were going through boxes that belonged to my two daughters and all the photographs and all that. She had a hope chest that was, in my garage, and just all these boxes with pictures and things in it, trinkets from her growing up. And I called both my daughters and I said, please come get your thing because they need to go and live with you. And they did. And it was good that they were able to bring their memories back in and then we could share them. And that was part of the releasing and letting go of all these things in my life and just minimizing it down to just the bare things that I really felt like I needed. And even one of my girlfriends, she had been through a move a couple of years ago, and she says, you will be surprised at how much of this that you're taking you really don't need.
Yeah.
I went, but I need it now. I needed still to have some of that comfort around me. And I think it's a process when you're moving things out of your life, it's freeing in a way that says, now I'm open to something new coming in, but I still need some anchors from my past to ground me. Else I will just totally like fly off the face of the planet and join the stars or something,
Yeah. Well, and you bring up such a good point because, and I had a memory as well when you said we're closing a chapter and opening up a new one on our life. And after I had moved out of the house with my ex-husband, with my kid's dad, I moved in with my mother. and into her basement with my 2 children as I was going through my divorce. And I was there for a year and could not see a way out. All the stuff that goes on with other big changes, like going through a divorce and trying to run my business and all of that, I couldn't see an opportunity where I would ever actually leave the basement. Here I was, 38, living in with my mom. And okay, well, the wildfire had a different idea. And so we had a fire come through and we lost 346 homes, including the one I was living in, and all my stuff. All I had ever wanted at that point was a warm, happy, cheerful place for my children and myself to start this next chapter of my life as, divorced mother. What did that look like? But I wanted to be on my own. It was always very important to me. And so I was thinking, like, it was such a emotionally devastating move because I had nothing except for a dining room set, my dining room furniture, which I'd put into a storage room. It was like the easiest move. I walk in and I had 2 suitcases and that was it. But I'm sitting there and I think one of my happiest memories is whenever I need to go back to a memory of something that I feel grateful for, my gratitude work, as I remember I had just moved into that house. I had just had new furniture delivered because thankfully I had insurance that helped me replace the furniture that I had lost. And I was sitting on this new furniture and I'm looking out the window and I see my kids just riding their little big wheels on this patio in our backyard and the light shining on their hair. And I could smell the coffee. And I was like, okay, I can breathe. This is the new chapter. The horror of losing everything so violently on top of already a very distressing time, but just that opening up of that new chapter of this is how I wanted it to be. This is what I had been wanting, this feeling. I wanted this circumstance for years leading up to how I got there. But from that point forward, so that was 12 something years ago, I look at each new place that I moved to as a different chapter in my life. The house that we left a year ago, where I spent 9 years, was where my now husband and I became a blended family. And we raised our children there and into adulthood, and we had that life. And then we had to leave that and we moved into this other house. And it's like, who are we in this place? What's our identity there? Okay, that was when you and I are starting this podcast. He's making some career moves. I'm redoing some stuff. And now we've left that behind. And now we're opening up into a new life. Who are we in this place? And I think it's a beautiful way for me to look at it, because when we're moving and we have all of this, we've got the financial considerations that's stressful, the logistics of packing up all your stuff, the memories, all of that. But for me, I felt like I could imagine myself here and who am I next? What's my next big adventure that this house is going to shelter for me?
Right. Well, that's a very good point too, talking about new chapters and how we're going to, show up and be in this new chapter. And so my story is I'm 3 hours away from the town that I was in for 10 years. And I actually went from a city environment all the way out to a very small town that overlooks the ocean. So I'm at heart a beach person. So it really speaks to my spirit, my heart, my soul, my body of who I am, being around an ocean and a beach. I did a lot of that heart searching too before I decided to make this move out here, because it is a big shift going from, a full life with friends, and I had a small dog walking business and I knew everybody in the neighborhood and everything, all the way out to a new community. I've been out here before. It's not like it's my first time, but I never knew that I was going to be actually living out here on a full-time basis. I was always just visiting. These are things that this past week, I'm like, okay, what is it that I want my life to look like out here? What is it that I've been putting on the back burner that I want to bring forward? And what am I going to do with my business model now? We're still doing the podcast, which, is wonderful. And now it's bringing in new energy. And it's also shaping where I'm moving next and what's coming into my life. And now I have space for new things to come into my life. And I'm just being really open to what those are, setting my intentions and to what I would like them to be. So I definitely have parameters, traveling is in it, more working within my coaching business and what that means. So I really feel like these are big emotional energy shifts that we go through whenever we move. And we can choose to look at them in a positive way that says, okay, I've cleared out all this old stuff and now I'm ready for new things to happen and to come into my life and embrace, and I'm being open to them. I think that there is a lot of opportunity just to be present at the moment.
So, Robin, how did you get to feel that way? Because I know what I do for myself, but I know that like a lot of women that are probably listening to this don't have that skill or don't even realize that that's what's going on, because I've had stressful moves where I've just been a basket case the entire time. And, when you get up and you see one thing going wrong, and then it's like a snowball effect of all this other stuff going wrong. Whereas you and we're talking about these moves that we've done, how we're able to reframe and bring in the gratitude and bring in the excitement of who are we next? And we haven't talked about this or done this on purpose with each other, but I think you and I both found our ways of like, it's beyond just making the best of a situation. It's like really embracing and looking forward into who are we, what's our next adventure, what good are we bringing in? But neither you or I started out there in our lives. So for you, what are some of the things that you do or that you did during this time to keep yourself in that space of, like we just talked about, of embracing it?
Right. Well, I think it's how we start our day every
Mhm.
day. Okay. So the first thing that I do is in the morning, I take time, quiet time, just for myself, say a prayer, a little meditation. We'll visualize the day. And generally, I mean, there's always a lot of things that go on, but you can choose how you want to move through your day and how you want to show up in your day. Right. And so in the morning, I'd like to take my cup of tea and I'd like to have my quiet time. I just like to listen and say a prayer and my gratitudes. What am I grateful for today? And that really does help me to see the day in a productive way. Also, too, I think the other thing that I do is I really listen to what's going on inside of me. If I feel like I'm getting really agitated at a project, I just stop. I take a moment, go get a glass of water, think about it. Do I need to break this task down? Am I too emotionally involved in it? Should I save this for another day? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do I want to get this done? I listen a lot to my heart center instead of driving myself crazy with I have to get this done. Those are some of the things that I do. My philosophy is that to what's really going, try to do that with as much peace in your life as possible. And I know that their days are just crazy and chaotic, but you just have to know that it's one day at a time. And what you do currently in this present moment is the only moment that you have. That's the only moment you have to worry about, is right here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I was trying to keep in the forefront is give myself and everyone else a lot of grace, especially myself. And also to know that even the move last year was very stressful. It's like one way or the other, this is all going to be over with May 1st last year. One way or the other, we're all going to be out of here. We're going to be in the new place or wherever that may be. And just do the best that we can in any moment. And for me, this time around, once again, it was one way or the other. We're going to be out of this place and into a new place by this set date. But we didn't have to drive ourselves crazy preparing for it, stressing about it. We did what we could. My husband and I both had to give each other so much compassion and grace. I mean, the kids are doing their thing, but he would have his little moments of meltdown and I would have mine of just the little things because everything's piling on stressing. I would have to just take a moment and breathe. I remember his moment, and he said I could share this story because I told him what we were talking about. And it's humor, laughter too, by the way. My goodness, I was laughing so much because you get to know people and you kind of know where their strengths lie and what they don't. Just my move last year. My husband figured out that I love my little storage baggies, my little Ziploc baggies. I have gallon size and quart size, and I use them for everything. Hardware, the 9 gazillion pennies that just seem to come out of the carpet. I pick them all up and I put them in my little Ziploc bags and they're all nice and there they are. And my husband was like, why do we have pennies in a Ziploc bag? So he takes them all out and puts them in a little penny jar or what have you. And so his idea of moving when he packs his stuff up is just take stuff and just start loading it into boxes and IKEA bags. I'm like, no, let's wrap them. Let's take care. And he's throwing all this stuff around. He carries this box. And I hear this crash and then a litany of profanity because sure enough, he had either dropped or the bottom fell out of this box that he had packed. And his penny jar of unsecured coins, of hundreds of them, just shatter and go everywhere. And he's got so upset, he's like starting to cry a little bit. And he's like throwing pennies around and he's like worked himself up into this state. And I was just like, go away, go do anything else. And I was laughing to myself. I mean, I knew not to say this to him in the moment, but I was like, and that is why we have Ziploc bags. But that helped me because of one of us, two of us could not lose it at the same time. So he was fine. He came back around like 10 minutes later, but I was like, we love my Ziploc bags.
Oh, yes. And it was interesting about money too, because while I was packing, I would find like, coins and, bottom of drawers and in the laundry room, because you wash stuff. And I always had like little collections of coins everywhere. And so I put it together and I probably had about, I close to about $50. And I figured, you know what? This is abundance showing up in my life. And that's how I looked at it. This is abundance. And it's just giving me a little tip. Yeah.
I told him, thank you for reminding that, because I said, Matthew, you are a money magnet.
Exactly.
All of these coins, all these pennies. And he's like grumbly and cussing up a storm. It's too cute.
It's funny, all the little coincidences that happen along the way. And so many good memories. And I just chose to keep all the good memories and release the bad memories. And I was really blessed through this trip. I didn't actually stay in my house. I was actually dog sitting for like 11 days at somebody else's house. And so every day about 5, 6, 7 o'clock, work was done. And no matter where I was, I had to go. And that gave me that time to take a breath, get something to eat, pet my dogs, get some sleep, get up and do it all again the next day. I mean, everything in your life literally stops when you're moving because there's so much that you need to do, to go through, to pack. Where does it go? Did you label it? And then now here we are on the other side of it. And I moved into this house, but everything that I own is in a 2-car garage, right? And when I walk out into it, it's like all this really wonderful vibration of who I am is right there. And it's like a blanket wrapped around me, So whenever I feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Where is that thing? I just walk out there and I go, okay, and then everything kind of settles down and I go, all right, probably a third of what I have out in the garage, I'll probably end up giving away or selling. But then the rest of it gets to fit into my new dwelling, my new home, and how's that going to look? I don't know. And I don't have to know today.
Exactly. I've lost a week. Like, I think we're starting our 4th week in this house, which feels weird. It feels like April's been a very, very, very long month. So we moved in it's now April 30th that we're doing this podcast. And we moved in, we got the keys on the 10th. So about 3 weeks, but I feel like I've lost a week. But I was telling you earlier, like 75% of my stuff is pretty much where it needs to be, but there are just a couple of things. I still have boxes and things are out of sorts, and energetically that's very uncomfortable at times. So I have to just keep grounding myself and keep just knowing, you know what, I don't have to deal with it right now. It will get handled. I can remember moving into houses and apartments. Of course, it was just myself and not kids and a lifetime of stuff, but like, I have to put everything away perfectly before I can focus on anything else. And, a little 1-bedroom apartment, it doesn't really take too long. But I can't do that now. And so I have to temper that. Like, okay, I got my kitchen set up. My kitchen is the one area of this house is the first thing. It's completely set up. I can cook again. I can do all the stuff. The rest of it can be a shambles till who knows when. But just these little things that help and ground me. What else was I going to say about, I had a thought and, yes, Menno brain. Yeah, Menno brain. I find it funny that I'm going through this time period in my life where everything hurts. And, when your brain is full of a bunch of stuff already, when you're trying to figure out all this new stuff, and then half of the stuff falls out, even on a good day, like when we're planted, firmly planted in wherever we are. We walk into the room and we forget what we came in there for. And so I find it flattering that every single person in this house seems to have so much faith in me that they know exactly where mommy knows where everything is. Hey, mom, where's this? I don't know. How am I supposed to know? You expect me to know that? I find it flattering that you think that I do. And my husband's like, well, where's that screwdriver? What? No.
Yeah, I just had it in my hand just,
I know. I'm like,
2 days
I don't even
ago.
know what day it is. I don't even know what, important stuff. How cute that you think that I've got all that stuffed into my brain somehow.
It's so true. I mean, because I'm 61 and my brain gets really overwhelmed. And I don't want to ever use age as an excuse because we're, as young as you feel. But I can definitely know that when I moved 10 years ago, I didn't feel as bad body wise,
Right.
But we had some days where when we got down here, I had a 20-foot U-Haul truck,
Mhm.
right? And I was really blessed when we loaded it up. I remember in the morning saying a prayer and I said, "Dear God, please bring me some help, bring me another guy to help load the heavy stuff," right? And sure enough, here comes this guy that I didn't even know. He came to my garage sale, right? And he said, "Hey, if you need any help, here's my number." Well, I texted him and he says, "Yeah, I'll come on down." And then my girlfriend came over. So we had all this help loading. We got here and we had none. And it took us 4 hours, me and my partner, to unload and move everything into the garage. And my body, my mind, everything hurt so bad. All I wanted to do was just eat some Advil,
Yes.
take a hot shower, and eat something and just sit and not do anything. And it wasn't necessarily, it was for my body, but it was also for my mind too, just to
Right.
sit and let everything just settle down, just settle down. And I remember the next day I just said, I'm not doing anything. I'm giving myself permission to just, I'm not going to unpack. I know where my clothes are at. I have a hot shower. I have a kitchen that I can function in. And I said, that's it. I'm doing it. And I just sat and I read my book. I slept. I watched TV, a couple movies. I ate, good food, but I also ate some, not so good food too. And I just allowed myself just to be and not have to put any pressure on myself. And I think that that's really, really important because now I'm on my second week of through this move and I'm just starting now to get back my energy, to get back to where I'm actually allowing other things to come into my life that I have to think about other than just the unpacking and where is everything and how is it going to go and so many different things that are on our brain. And I allowed all my thoughts and everything just to kind of like flow out. And I've had to do this the last 2 weeks, just take my time. When my body says, it's enough, then I listen to that and I stop and I just take my time. And it's so much better for my energy level to do that. My energy is starting to come back a little bit now. And now I can start other things in my life that I want to bring back in. But for a little bit, I had to get really small and just take care of me.
Exactly. But it's so great that we know now to do that. And I think that comes with maturity. I think that comes at this stage of life. Or maybe it's the work that we do and supporting one another through this. But much like you, I have thought that, okay, well, we're going to move in. The movers are coming on Friday. The stuff's going to be in. And then Saturday, I was going to go over to my friend's house. They were having like a bunco party. And I wanted to go see them. Gosh, we've worked so hard. But 10 minutes before I was supposed to leave, I'm getting ready and I threw up. And I don't know where that came. I was just, if it was stress or tired or what have you, but I could not go to the party. And I just lay down in my bed for the rest of the afternoon. I wasn't sad. I mean, I got up a few hours later and I felt fine. And then, flurry of activity on a Sunday, but that next Monday, the next day, I hit a wall. Like I couldn't, I thought, okay, well, I'll just start putting stuff away, just that whole like, okay, move, put everything away, get it all set away and organized as quickly as possible. And my body said, not happening, not going to happen. And rather than sitting there and beating myself up over it or saying, oh gosh, things that I might have said to myself 10 years ago, 20 years ago, oh, you're lazy or, what are you? No, I sat down. I told my husband, he was totally cool. He was like, yeah, I'm going to take all the time you need. And I sat down, had my book, and I just made some tea, and I sat in my recliner, and I didn't move all day. I just relaxed. I mean, I had all this chaos around me, but it felt good to take that moment, to take that day, a full day of just checking out from moving. And since then, I mean, over the last couple of weeks, my husband and I have both done that. We've been like, we need to get out of the house. Let's go out for a drive. Let's go out to dinner. Let's do something else. The house and the stuff is always going to be there. And when we come back, then it's like we're both motivated. Like we come back from having fun in the afternoon, come back, okay, we can put together the bookshelves and we can unpack a box or two. It was just that recharge. And to get and going back to giving ourselves grace of allowing ourselves to do it at our own pace, knowing that our bodies aren't what they used to be, our strength isn't what it used to be, and even our emotions are all over the place. Just to give ourselves that time makes it so much easier. And this is a really hard thing you and I are doing. And I don't even want to think about when the next time I'm going to do this is, but yeah, it's very, very helpful. And the whole message that I'd like to convey is these big stressors happen, the big life moments, and they happen when we're younger and vibrant, but they also happen as we're going through this change, which, as we all know, physically and emotionally it can have its challenging moments anyway. But what Robin and I feel like we want to convey is, love yourself, get your self-care, focus on that, because now more than ever, we need to focus in on what's going to help us feel better, what's going to help us be who we need to be when we need to be it, and pushing ourselves through and getting wrapped up in the stress of it, which happens. This is a stressful time, but there are ways to manage that stress. And if you're going through a big, huge transition, and even if it's I mean, my move is great. I love this house. I'm so excited to be here. This was a great move. And it's still stressful. If you're going through something like that, or if it's a move like I had that was under a sad circumstance, and you're struggling with that, struggling with coming to a place of at least neutrality, if not being able to feel the gratitude and the positivity, reach out to me, reach out to Robin. Not only have we done this, we do this professionally, but we've also been through it. We're also going through it right now. And this isn't even touching into the hypnosis stuff that I can do or the life coaching. This is sister to sister, friend to friend. Like, okay, let me wrap our arms around you and give you some love so that you can get some of that strength back.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. And once again, just some final thoughts on all this. Some of the reasons we wanted to bring this to you is that to let you know, our community, that you're not alone when you're going through these transitions, whatever they may be. And you can make them through, take them one day at a time. Reach out for support. We're here, friends are here, the group is here, and we're one tribe of people, and we can send out love, energy, support, encouragement. We can do it. You can do it, because we are here for you. We're your tribe. There's so many tools. There's so many things that you can do to support and encourage yourself through this. I reached out to friends. I took care of making sure I had enough sleep, that I wasn't overexerting my body, even though there were days I felt broken. I made sure that I took my down days. I drank my water. I took my rest points when I needed it. I had a mindset that I was just going to take what is in front of me right now, and I'm not going to think about the past. I'm not going to have regrets, because you can't change the past, and the future is a present, and today is the gift.
Beautifully said.
So,
all right.
So we just wanted to bring this to you. We wanted to wrap it up and just say, hey, we wanted to share our experiences with you on moving.
So if you're going through a big, huge stress, whether it be moving or another one, drop a comment. Let us know what you're going through so we can wrap our arms around you and send you love. If you have any questions, reach out to us. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more from us and from the Menowave Lounge, hit subscribe if you're on YouTube or Spotify. Robin, what do we do on Facebook?
On Facebook, we have our page, our podcast, Menowave Lounge Podcasts. We have some wonderful care providers that speak on many, many topics. And once again, if you like what you're seeing, hit the like button, subscribe button. Right now, our goal is to get 1,000 viewers. And we want people just like you that want to be a part of our tribe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to go unpack a box now. I'm all motivated again.
All right, Marty, I'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Robin. Take care. Thank you for joining us in the Menowave Lounge. If you'd like to connect with Marty, Robin, our guests, or any of our expert Menowave care providers for personalized advice and support, head on over to our website at menowave.org and fill out an assessment that will match you with a provider who knows just how to help. Remember, you don't have to face menopause alone. Our team is here to provide the guidance and care you deserve. So, take that step towards reclaiming your well-being and connect with a Menowave care provider today. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Menowave Lounge, Hot Flashes and Cool Conversations.